Hello everyone. Time for something else. Train Simulator 3. Today we're going to be going out of Margate, Ashford to St Pancras International. In the Intercity, the UK's fastest train here. We'll see why it may be called the Intercity 225. Perhaps some people remember that from some time back. We're at the station here in the cockpit ready to go, so let's hit it. And we'll bring the game sounds in. So, see, time's already rolling, so let's put the master key on. Get the reverser on. And let's release the doors on the right-hand side. Let's get out of our chair a sec and get the isolation valves on. I like those. We got that in. Let's reduce brakes as well. Passengers about 3/4 of the way loaded. Let's have a little gander. Went for something like that for the screenshot. Don't look like we've got a great deal of passengers here, so let's get back in. Close the doors. By the way, that beeping and so exactly like it is. Being here in the UK, exactly how it is. All right, 2 or 3 seconds late. No harm, no foul. Ease the power on. Just realised, have we got the running lights on? No, we do not. Day running. There we go. Let's pick up the pace. We can go full power now, which is just 4 settings on this train. It's off. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. And we got the speed limit there, which we're already exceeding slightly. Using the overheads today, because this train also having the option to use the 3rd rail. Come on, let me chase the train. There we go. Let's get another flyby. Yes, I got the dead man's ISO valve. Of course, this being a thing in real life, right? The reason trains don't slam into a railway station at the end because the driver had an heart attack or whatever, for those that don't know, is they are literally equipped with what is known as the dead man's switch. And every so often you'll hear this ding, and if the driver don't respond, and I'm not sure exactly what it is, it's like maybe 5 seconds, certainly not much more, the train automatically slams on maximum brakes, and that is for all trains, not just the Intercity. And it's like this pedal down here, this switch here, and if you don't get there quick enough, that's it. Needs to be a slightly better way to do that. And there we go, we've got our clearance there for 225. That is, of course, max speed. And yeah, if you hadn't already figured out where it gets its name from. Does take a day and a half to get up to speed, like. As you can see, certainly when there's these little downward slopes, like now we're on a 1.4, if you look on the right there, now it's 2.3 downhill. Those gradients really help getting up to speed. If that was 2.3 up, we'd be losing speed, even on full power, unless we were crawling along. Looks like our next place we're pulling in at is at Ebbsfleet International. And we're due in there at 1 minute past 11, so we've got about 15 minutes to go. You see that? So there's the alarm. So I hit it, and now we're all good. See that destination there, 29 miles away, which is about 50 kilometers or so. Rolling into the turns a little bit there. We've got the sound barriers, providing the local inhabitants a little bit of peace. Approaching 180. This was as fast as I've ever been in a car, 180 kilometers an hour. And I know that because in Germany, of course, it's in, the cars are in KMH. The reason this train's in KMH, interestingly, is because we're operating on the electric line system. If it switches over to diesel, it uses the mile an hour system. So there is, it's to do with the Eurotunnel and not getting drivers confused or something to that effect. It's a bit ridiculous, really. But yeah, obviously, being in the UK, we're imperial when it comes to speeds, and that's miles an hour. Let's hit it just in case that's what it was. Just passing 200 kilometers an hour now. Captured that sound perfectly. I would like the external camera to actually be a little further away from the train when you first plonk it down. Don't feel like you get quite enough distance there. Granted, you can, I think, move it. You can see I can barely chase it. Now, holding down the shift key, we're really going for it. Best get inside in case we get the that one. Rapidly approaching 225 now, thanks to that little downhill gradient that is now uphill. We're at 217, 0.4 uphill. 218, we will eventually get there. Actually see next to the digital display, we've got that tiny little triangle. That indicates that we are trending upwards on the speed. If you see nothing, we're about stable, and of course a downward triangle. Well, I'll let you guess the rest. 5 to go. Now we can speed a little bit, and by a little bit, it seems to be around 5 kilometers an hour or so. Anything after that, we start and get penalized. And approaching nice and quick now. 24 miles. It was 30 last time we mentioned it. Three kilometers to go. We've got a little bit of an uphill here, so I'm sure we'll get there shortly. Now it's 1.1 up, so look at the speed now. It's dumping, even though we're still on full power at yeah, level 4. 4 of 4. I do wish there was a better way to control the horn. I mean, I can press space, but you know, to do the that you hear them doing. Of course, you can't do much more than that with a two-tone horn, but you know, the Star Wars Death March. Now we're 1.1% downhill. We're getting up to speed. There we go, 225. We're finally there. So how long's that took? We set off at 43, right? We're on about 50 seconds. So it took about 7 minutes to go from station to max speed. You can see there 1.1% down on full idle power. We're able to maintain speed, and now 1.4 actually gaining speed. So I think just going to tap the brakes just to, there we go, that'll do. Probably didn't need to do that, of course. Now we're uphill, so we're slamming full power in. I think if I'd have known the track a bit better, I'd have allowed that to roll on through. 20 miles then, and we've got to be there in basically 10, 11 minutes, just under 11 minutes time. Yeah, I mean, if you stood still at the side and you see it whiz past, it certainly don't seem to be slow. Whoa, we're over speeded now. Brakes on, brakes, 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 2% down. And let's leave it there. I think that'll do. We'll let it coast on the rest. And there is uphill already, full power. Thing is, with the dead man switch, I can't get out the chair for more than a second or two without it slamming on, because I need to keep my foot on that pedal, actively on the pedal. So we're uphill there, we've lost 10. Now it's downhill again, so no doubt it's going to stick it back on. So cut the power a bit. Looks like the track's leveling off a bit, so let's give it a little more. And indeed it is an uphill. Yeah, I'm not the greatest fan on train sims, just because it's a little one-dimensional, let's face it. But there is something, again, weirdly satisfying about pulling it in at a station where it's all down to your timings. Sure, you can slam the emergency brakes on, but you're going to get penalised for it. If you don't brake hard enough, you're clearly going to slide on through the station. Granted, you can turn these overlays off that you see at the side of the screen, but then it's a case of memorising the track. You know, where's the speed limits, where's your signal's going to be, how far until the station, and so on. .5 downhill. It's probably one of the steepest parts of the track. And that's easing off now. Yeah, so you see we're on the yellow there in the speed, so we can just about get away with that. Turn the cab lighting on for when we next go through a tunnel. So yeah, 13 miles, and we're due in just under 8 minutes time. And that, you know, it's not just a case of thundering on through, we need to stop, and that's where the challenge is. But I think based on our expeditious driving, it's not going to be too much of a challenge. Again, I think in real life you're never supposed to go above the max even by 1. I don't know, actually. It'd be interesting if somebody could say, like, if the speed limit's whatever it is, 100, if you go 101 for whatever reason, is that it? You're out of a job? Or do you have like a, you know, you got your speed limit and then there's this little bit of a threshold, and as long as you remain within that threshold, you're good. There's the dead man's switch, and we're going to okay it. They renamed it, by the way, to the vigilance pedal to be a bit more politically correct, but it is the dead man's switch. Uphilling a bit here through the tunnel, 1%. You can see we're on full power, and we're still losing speed. Now downhill again, which is nice. Getting our speed back in order. Let's ease that off. Little bit of braking, getting a bit too hot there at 230. Just kept it out the red mine, so it's fine. Bit more braking at 2.4% down. Looks like the minimum brake. Again, I can't brake less than 3, so 3 for whatever reason is the minimum braking you can have if you're not idling it. And it looks like we're about to level off, so let's ease off the brakes. Just over 8.5 miles to go. And we've got about 5 and a bit minutes to do it in. So rather than completely flooring it, I think what I'm going to do is just ease off a little bit on the speed. And if I'm too late on this journey, we'll certainly do it for the next segment, because what I want to do is have a real tight schedule at the end where I've got to really, you know, push it. I mean, the thing is, the faster you go on your stretch, the easier it is to pull in the station, because you've got more time to play around with to do it. So I'm just deliberately allowing it to ease off a little bit on the speed. Just to give myself a bit more of a challenge at the end on this one. But again, as I say, so if we was a bit late on this one, we'll certainly catch up for the next one. Inside 6 miles now. And we've got 4 minutes and 15 seconds to do it in. Easy. Again, the distinction between the miles and the kilometers an hour on the same sort of train service is a little weird, but you know, it is what it is when it's the electric lines. Yeah, we're still alive. You can see on level 2 on the power setting, it does seem to be generally keeping us around 170. It clearly varies as we're going up and downhill, but overall that's where it seems to be keeping us. No doubt the speed schedule will be to drop out of 225 shortly, and no sooner did I say it, it starts blinking. Yeah, so we'll see now how that pans. Guy driving past on yon side, 3.5 miles, and I think I'm just going to ease the power off entirely now. Start to coast, there we go, 200. Three miles to go, 3 minutes. Easy. Let's begin applying brakes. 2.6 and we're at 201. .160 is now in the window. Let's increase braking to 4. 2.1 at 192. 1.9 miles. Let's switch braking. No, I want 5 if possible. There we go. Braking 5. 170, 1.6 miles to go. We've clocked in at 160. Now 130. 1.4. I think we can carry on coasting in on level 3. Brakes. Let's increase to level 4. Inside 1 mile now. Or should I say now? 130 there. Let's ease off to level 3. And we've got about 80 seconds to do it in. 0.7 miles to go. .900 yards, about to drop through at 100. So no, wanting to increase the brakes slightly. 600 odd yards, 85 on the speed. .400 yards, we're at 70. 300 yards, we're at 60. 250, we're at 55. Let's increase braking to 5. 200 there, we're about 50. 100 yards, we're at 30. Let's ease off to braking 4. Let's ease it to 3. Ease off for a sec. 40 yards to go. Braking 3. 20. Braking 4. Braking 5. And full stop. Let's open the doors. And looks like, yeah, we arrived with about 10 seconds to spare. We were due in at 11:01:30. We pulled in at 11:01:20. happy with that. So yeah, it definitely puts the pressure on when you don't completely race it. You know, that's why we slacked off a bit there at the end. So for this next one, you know, rather than just, you know, redlining it the entire time, drive in a more relaxed manner. That's going to put the pressure on at the end. Oh yeah, a lot more passengers at this station. Not entirely sure what went down at the last one. Were we carrying all these guys? Can we actually get in the train? Oh, we can. Oh, but we can't walk through it. Why? I gotta walk. I'm sure there is a way to do it. I thought there was a ride along. Oh, internal. I don't know. Oh, we can stick our head out, can we? Head out a window that can't be opened. The wonders of television. Right, let's lock the doors. What, we should have left 20 seconds ago. Power 2, make sure the wheels don't skid. Power 3. And at 15 we'll go full power. It's about 15, 16 kmh is about 10 mile an hour, something like that. So when you see us doing about, I don't know, 155, 160, it's right around there. We're doing 100 mile an hour. Yeah, so looks like we're in a speed limit anyway for about another 700 and some yards. And I'm guessing right around then we'll be clear to accelerate above 130. So at full power, it's like you might have to ease off a tad. We'll see if we have to ease off or not. 300 yards to go. We've got another 10 kilometers an hour to play with on full power. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the yards are right there. So we're burning through, but don't forget it's the back of the train that needs to get through the speed limit. And we are now breaking the speed limit. And there we go. Okay, so yeah, there was like a small amount of speed limits being broken there. This tunnel has got this weird white sort of, I don't know if that's water dripping from the ceiling or what exactly, but anyway, we didn't want to float completely. We're 2.5% downhill now, which is nice. It's getting us up to speed real fast. Look at the speed piling on. That's the fastest I've seen it ever do it. Again, not that I sit here playing this game, although I maybe got about 2 or 3 hours on it total. Now we're 2.5 uphill, so we're going to bleed that speed off. 14 miles to go, and we need to be there in about 8 and a bit minutes. And I think that is also the, what's it, the final stop? Stratford International, I forget. I should know because it was the name of the stream and I only named it about half an hour ago, but you know, memory, sieve, often appearing in the same sentence. Gotta say, the external scenery looks pretty good. Perhaps a little lacking over there in the distance, a weird hill, but certainly in the immediate environment does look really good. When I say really good, I mean, no, depends what you're comparing it with, doesn't it? But it's actually sort of, I don't know. It may be better than X-Plane, but of course X-Plane's got the entire world in, not just a solitary track. It's certainly not Flight Sim 2020 sort of level, but in terms of having little pieces of detail in that Flight Sim 2020 doesn't really have, which in a weird kind of way X-Plane does. I've never really understood that. I disconnected the camera once on X-Plane just to have a little sort of wander around this city, and it's like got traffic lights, it's got hedges, it's got bins, literally dumpster bins around the back of properties. It's like, Alright, so there's a little bit more to this than perhaps you realise. But, you know, so I'm not really sure why this game... I mean, the fact that it's only got the track in, and you just need to put the scenery, what, half a mile or so either side of a track that's, what, I don't know, 100 miles long in total. So basically you've got 100 square miles of scenery to do if you go half a mile either side. It's a mile width, 100 miles in length, that's 100 square miles. I mean, the scenery should be mind-blowing. And there we go, finally getting there, 225. Like we said, we're going to just ease it off a bit, not race it red line. Let's set power 1, see where that gives us. And so, yeah, really, this game should have no excuses. The graphics should be absolutely top-notch. Perhaps the only thing better is Call of Duty, because that's kind of the same, right? It's a corridor that you can't escape from that leads you through from the start to the end. That's why I really like the Armour series. You know, you can, if you want to go around the side, you can go around the side. If you want to go around the other side, you can do that. If you want to try and go all the way around and get in at the back, you can do that. Or you can just try and punch your way through the front door. But alas, on Call of Duty, it's like it's front door all the way, and there is no other. And that's what I really didn't like about that game, despite graphics-wise it being really good. But then you realise, well, yeah, it can be really good because you don't got to bother with anything else. You just got this very narrow, one-dimensional corridor, just like this on Train Sim. Sure, you can decide, do I want to walk on the left side, on the right side, or down the middle of the corridor. That you do got that choice, but that's it, right? In this, you don't even got that. Mind you, I guess we could stick our head out the left window or the right, but... Interestingly, we've been on power setting 1 and we're still at 220. And that's in large part been aided by this slight downhill. Look on the speed trend there, we are expected to drop down, and there indeed it is. 5.5 miles to go. 4 and a bit minutes to do it in. No problem. Tunnel. Well, in the UK, if you go in a tunnel, it's one of two things. You're either near London, or you're going through hills and mountains, and like through the Pennines there's a load of tunnels. The mountains that sort of separate, if you want to call them mountains, well, I guess technically, yeah, the east and the west sides of the UK. The London, you got your tunnels just because it's well, it's London, right? Well, we're rattling in, 3 and a bit miles to go, and there's our notifier to drop out at 225. So we'll set power to neutral. Slight uphill now, so we'll let it coast uphill and we'll see how that pans out. 200, well, we're almost there, and we're uphill even more, so I'm just going to let it go. 2 and a bit miles. All right, let's set brakes 3. 160 now. Leave the brakes on the minimum, the uphill here. This game has this nasty habit of these weird sort of pauses. Just, you know, it's like 1/4 of a second, but there's no need for it. No need for it at all. I mean, Vulkan is a graphics technology that's been out, what, a year, maybe 2 now? I think developers are starting to run out of excuses as to why they're not got it implemented. Here, the speed's in the red. Just add a bit of brakes. 1.1 miles to go. And there we go, inside a mile. We got 2 minutes to do it in, no problems at all. Let's ease this off to braking level 3. 2.3% uphill. I think I'm going to coast it entirely. Tried to get a drive-by in the tunnel. Was not expecting the camera to be on the outside of the tunnel. Alright, let's get the drive-by now. Gotta say, the sounds... I mean, not that I've sat in the cab of a train. I asked once, and they said no. And, you know, I'm not like now. I'm on about, like, when I was a kid. And I don't know if they said no because they just didn't want me there, or they said no because it wasn't allowed, but they said no. Not that I had... It wasn't like I was trying to get a free ride without paying for a ticket or anything. I had the ticket. I just wanted to, you know... Like you could sit in with the planes back then. Pulling in, yeah, we're going to have loads of time to spare this time, so we can make this stop gentle as we like, but I think I've left it a little late now. Release. And there, the doors opening. Oh, come on, out they come. I'll tell you what, because the doors are currently released, we've got a little bit of time. Let's jump out the... Yeah, so we can't... My goodness, he's a fast runner. Hello, everyone. Emergency, need a cup of coffee. Have you got... No, she don't. I thought she might have my cup of coffee there. Let's run back through. Yeah, by the way, guys, for those not for the UK, this is exactly what the trains look like in the UK. Exactly. They've modelled it well. The doors go to the side. You got your toilets here. I wonder if they've... No. Right, let's hop back in. We'll leave the door open if it's not a problem. Yeah, so I think we've got one more stop. Doors are to close, so we're to set off in 15, so we'll close them now. You get that beeping exactly like that. Lets you know. As soon as the beeping stops, the doors come to. Once the doors are to, there's this other set of pistons that pushes the doors right up against the wall, and or like a plug into the plug hole. It pushes them right in. And that basically stops them rattling at all, so there's like no rattling on the doors. Those doors, now I remember older trains and buses, you know, they were always rattling, you know, when... And yeah, like I don't know how it is elsewhere, but in the UK certainly there's always shit laid at side at tracks. You know, pipe works, you know, just endless reams of cables and materials and Lord knows what, and it just seems to, they just seem to use the side of the railway track as a storage site. And there's endless workers always. I don't know, everywhere you go, you see workers at the side, the British rail workers just everywhere. Constantly, 24/7. I don't know what's... it's as if they're basically maintaining the track. Every time a train goes by, they sort of stand there, and I guess when the train's gone, they're there tightening the bolts or measuring something. I don't know, but they're everywhere. I didn't think there'd be that much work to do, but apparently so. British Rail and Network Rail. Network Rail are the... Oh, we're ready to drop out at 225. Well, we never got to 225. Well, St Pancras, yeah, this is where it ends. St Pancras International. And we've got just under 5 minutes to do it. 3 and a bit miles to go. Let's keep the speed setting here for now. We know we need to drop out at 225. 200 where it's at. We're at 177. It's only going to get slower from here on, so let's leave it. And again. Hello. Speed now down to 160. But we are slightly uphill, so we'll eke it on out. 2.1 miles to go. 130 now, so let's start applying 1% uphill. 1.9 to go. Yeah, that brake level 3, that 1% uphill, brutal on the speed. Look at it evaporating off. Gonna ease it off now. 100 mile an hour, kmh rather, is next. It's about 60 mile an hour. 2.6 up, so I'm just gonna let it bleed off naturally. Hopefully I don't get penalized for that. 1.2 to go. Seems to be sort of, if you got 1 mile to go and you're at 100 kmh, it seems to be a nice sort of sweet spot. Got penalised for about half a second there. It was red for just a bit. Got the dead man's switch. We're speeding once again. Now we're all good. Let's ease that off. Surely it's not going to get any slower than this. Give him a horn. 0.6. $37 mile an hour limit coming up. What's that, about 50? Alas, it's 60. Snaking in, that's exactly the sound they make. That's a fantastic sound recording. That is exactly how they sound. That squeaking, I don't know if it's like that elsewhere. Germany, they just sound so different because the engines and everything. You know, Germany's rail network is a ton more advanced. I went on the French TGV once as a kid, as well as the Eurostar. A bit long ago for me to remember accurately, but obviously those were new, a lot newer at the time as well. Eurostar certainly. I mean, British rail network's not to be impressed about, right? It was maybe impressive 50 years ago, who knows, but all the investment's been Far East since, hasn't it? I mean, you look at China. I mean, when I was a kid, China was a place where you had a load of people just growing rice in a paddy. And somehow, all the manufacturing from everywhere in the world just got sent to China. And you look what they've done since. They've got aircraft carriers. They've got all these high-speed expresses. Granted, I don't fancy those that are working in an iPhone factory, that, you know, those horrible scenes there. But aside from that, I guess the money just got pinched and they used it to build all the infrastructure. But yeah, that's going to be it, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to St. Pancras International here. Train Sim World 3 on the Class 395. That's going to be it from me. Hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, we'll be playing somewhere else. Until then, forgive the shoddy camera work. It is what it is.